Leadership law number 3, the law of the process, on the Do Hard Things Today podcast. All right, Jed Blackwell, we are continuing our leadership series. We are going through John C. Maxwell's, what I believe to be the best leadership book that may have ever been written, and that's the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. So we're 3 weeks into this. And what we're doing here is our entire leadership team at the company that I run, Harrison's, we're going through this together. I made a commitment to really developing and spending time with the leaders that are inside of our company, and so we're all going through this together. And one of the things we decided to do was we have a leadership meeting every single week where we go through these things, but we also felt it would be valuable to our team to include these on the podcast, give them some of our thoughts to be able to think through and listen to. And we went ahead and we're going to include these on the main podcast page to be able to help you. And feel free to use these if you've got a team that you're leading, or if you're a part of a team, no matter where you find yourself on the spectrum, this could be something that could really, really help you. So Jed, I want to ask you a question. You're usually the interviewer.
Okay.
But you've been a professional for a long time, many years. You've been
many years.
You have been a professional, and so I want to ask you this because I think I know the answer, and I want to hear you elaborate on it. I think a lot of people that listen are going to find themselves kind of in the same boat. You've been a professional, and you worked for some large companies and some small companies. Have you ever, tell me about what leadership development you've received in the past, and then tell me how you have, what have you gained or been stretched or made to feel uncomfortable during these few weeks that we've been doing this development?
Well, what I've done in the past, I went to an editing workshop one time.
An editing workshop. Now that sounds exciting.
I judged some other states' newspaper association awards, and there was a little bit of leadership in that. Other than that, 0.0.
Why do you think that is? And most people, that's going to be the answer.
You mentioned I work for small companies and large companies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me clarify that. I worked for the smallest multi-newspaper chain in the state. Mm-hmm. And the largest multi-newspaper chain in the country, and one of in the world. At the small one, we didn't have time for leadership because I had to deliver papers and go to city council meetings and 4 or 5 basketball games a week and everything, repair stuff, everything else. And the largest one, I don't think they had any interest in anybody except the people that they handpicked and identified taking any kind of leadership role.
Yeah. The reason I asked that question, so you didn't, now a good interviewer is always going to come back. You didn't answer my second question.
But I will. Some of this is very uncomfortable because I'm not used to any of it. I'm not, not to bury the lead, but this chapter talks about leaders being made instead of being born. Leadership can be learned. Well, candidate A right here, I'm having to learn it because I don't know it already. I have to learn it. And it's been helpful, but it's been, chapter 1, asking folks what I'm good at and what I'm not, was fairly uncomfortable, and I'm sure they were uncomfortable answering as well. This is pushing my boundaries a little bit.
So think about some of the people that you have interviewed in the past. Most of them are going to be athletes, coaches, those kind of things. The ones that were the most successful and continued to be successful and move forward, I think you would probably, or I know whenever I see someone interviewed, the ones that I look at and that I think they're really going to be successful in the future are the ones who I would call self-aware.
Yeah.
They may have just scored 25 points in a game, but they also know of the 3 rebounds that they missed because they didn't use their fundamentals to block out.
That is, I consider among the athletes that I did cover when I was in high school, or when they were in high school, Marcus Lattimore to be one of the foremost.
Yep. Go Gamecocks.
Yep. To your point, after arguably his best game. It wasn't his most brilliant statistical game, but in the state championship against Sumter, he rushed for 305 yards and 3 touchdowns and carried it 30-something times. And after the game, I asked a then 16-year-old kid, "Hey, Marcus, how you think you played today?" He said, "I did all right. I fumbled." Okay, well, the quarterback was falling down and put the ball into his chest plate instead of into his belly where he couldn't grab it. And yeah, he dropped it, but that's what he came back to. I fumbled. I let him down. Now, I ran for 305 and kept the clock running 36 times and scored 3 times, and we won by 1 score, so won the game. But I let him down that one time. That's leadership, to have that kind of reaction to one mistake that wasn't as significant as maybe you thought it was. But to own, hey, I let the team down in that moment. I need to do better, even if you don't, is incredible.
Yeah, I think looking in the mirror and being self-aware will help you to be able to develop as a leader. And I feel like most people that I talk to, and most people that are out there, and most organizations they do not take the time to develop leaders because they don't think they have time. They don't, none of those things. And that's why I think law 3, the law of the process, and the law is leadership develops daily, not in a day. That's what John Maxwell says. And I think that this is the one that most of us at one point or another either fail at or we continue to fail at. And I think when we think about the process, what is this process he's talking about, Jed?
The first thing I wrote down, he was talking about consistency. The first thing I wrote down is don't cash out, but be in it for the long haul. Commit to the process. One of the things he's talking about, it's weird in that the law of the process is the actual process. Identifying what you need to do and committing to do it daily, whatever it is. There is no secret formula. Be consistent in the things that you do and do them over the long term.
When you hear interviews of truly exceptional people, whether it be an athlete, whether it be a businessman, whether it be a politician, no matter what it is, when you hear them interviewed and they talk, most people would think these truly exceptional people, they just do all these amazing and exceptional things in their daily life. But that's not true.
Right.
What they've done is they've become masters at doing the little seemingly insignificant things right daily. They consistently do that. You take an athlete, okay, they're shooting 50 free throws a day.
Right.
Well, why are they a 90% free throw shooter? It's not because God just gifted them with the ability to shoot a free throw. No, they incorporate that into their life. When you think about a fantastic salesperson, most of the time you're thinking, the first thing that comes to your mind is, oh, I bet they're just an outgoing,
right,
just someone who lights up a room. But what those fantastic salespeople, not the ones that look like fantastic salespeople, but the ones that are absolutely getting the results year after year after year. You know what they're masters of? Consistency. They're masters of every single day. They're going to make their 10 new prospect calls every single day. They're going to call 10 of their current accounts, and they're going to try to upsell them, build that relationship. They are masters of consistency. I think sometimes in leadership, we will fall into 2 categories. One is if you have a dynamic personality, you can fall into the category of, what you said a minute ago, Jed? You said about being born a leader or leaders are made. Those people will fall into the trap and like, hey, I was just born a leader. I've got a dynamic personality. People like me. I can light up a room, which those are really good traits to have. You can leverage those.
Right.
But then you know what a lot of those people do?
They don't do any of that.
They don't. You know why they don't do any of that? Have you ever dealt with any of those people?
Yeah, absolutely.
They depend so much on their personality and so much on just their ability to light up a room that they don't they don't discipline themselves daily. They fail in the process. And then what happens is those people end up at some point in time, people are like, I just can't believe that person was not successful. They're such a great leader.
Right. And that's not the case.
It's not the case. No, they've got a great personality. Then you have other people who maybe don't have that really aggressive, dynamic, outgoing personality, and they will pigeonhole themselves and say, well, I'm just not a leader. I just want to do stuff. I just tell me what to do. Jed, I think you would admit that you kind of fell into that a little bit.
I'm over here laughing because
I mean,
that's the case.
And that's not. I mean, leaders are made. They are made through the daily processes that followed consistently will make them successful. I think we were talking about something else in our pre-meeting, and I made the comment that I always want the leaders that I'm interacting with on the team to always feel a little bit uncomfortable. Now, you're on the team. We work with each other. Explain what I mean by that and how you have maybe felt that.
You want to raise questions about what you could be doing better, what you could be doing to help more, what you could be doing to empower the people who you lead to better do their jobs as well, with an eye on the bottom line, but not realizing that the bottom line isn't everything, and the true bottom line is professional growth for everybody involved. And I've felt that nearly every day, because everything that I'm doing is pretty much brand new to me, and I do truly learn something every day.
Well, on page 30 of the book, if you're following along, he says leaders are learners, and in some point in time, most of us, you fall into the trap where we just stop learning. We don't have to go to school anymore. You go through grade school, if you go to college, or if you get some point in time, we stop learning. We stop stretching ourselves and growing. It's part of the reason we're reading this book together, is that we can continue to learn and look inside of ourselves and see how we can get better. I'll say this for you business leaders that are listening, and some of you may have a team that you're leading, and you may be thinking in your mind right now, some of the things that Jed already hit on why he's never been a part of an organization that's developing leaders. You may be thinking, well, I don't have time. All I want them to do is go out and sell plumbing supplies. All I want them to do is go out and sell pharmaceuticals. I just want them to get the job done. We don't have time to do this. Let's speak pragmatically for a second. And what that means is we're thinking about the end goal. For most of you that are in business, your end goal is to be profitable, to have a successful business, successful team, whatever that may be. If you're investing up front in your people and developing them, and they are growing, and they see that, the expectation is that I'm getting better, that I am growing, that I'm becoming I'm a lifelong learner. I am being held accountable to my daily processes and my daily. What will happen is those people will become unbelievable producers inside of your company. They will do better for themselves. They will make more money themselves. They will make more money for your company, and so that's kind of the rub in these things. Go ahead, Jed.
Yeah, somebody told me a long time ago, we're old guys. The few of us who were talking on this occasion were sitting around bemoaning the fate of our former profession and what the new wave of folks was doing. And I wish I could take credit for this, but I can't. And I can't remember who said it. It was one of us sitting around a table who said, once you secure a job, the only thing you're entitled to is the opportunity to do better than you did yesterday.
That's good.
That's giving people the opportunity to be better than they were yesterday is a huge component of, I think, this leadership and the book entirely. Not only because if you give somebody else the opportunity to be better, that makes you better. Yeah. You learn from everything that they're doing. I do think that's part of the process is allowing people. you've said making people uncomfortable. I think it's allowing people to be uncomfortable, because in some professions you don't get that. You can't be uncomfortable. You have to go straight by everything we've said until now, and you're not empowered to make any kind of meaningful decisions about anything.
Yeah, and empowerment is a tricky piece. We talk about it inside of our company. There's three things I think leaders need to do. They need to empower their people. They need to an empowerment with resources, with training, with everything. They need to encourage their people, catch them doing things right, build them up. You should be for every time you have to reprimand someone or correct them, there should be at least 3 times that you're encouraging them.
Right.
And you're catching them doing things right. And if you do those things, then it gives you the ability to hold people accountable. Well, empowerment is that piece of, if you're leading a team, you always want to protect your people from the fatal flaws. You protect them from, what's this decision that could destroy, that could have a devastating impact on whatever their business unit is or whatever it is. So you're protecting them from that. Outside of that, if you're empowering your people and giving them the resources they need, and you believe that you have the right people in place, let them do their job. Let them stretch their legs. They are going to do things differently than you're going to do that. And we're kind of getting off on a tangent on this, but that is that empowerment where you are giving them those resources. You're believing in them. You're telling them. You're building their confidence. Those things. Then it allows them as leaders to develop those daily processes, that these habits that they form that are daily, that are going to take them to that.
That goes hand in hand with the second thing that I wrote down from the chapter. The quote was, leaders have the capacity to develop and improve their skills. I think leaders have the capacity to help everybody develop and improve their skills, and that's what you're talking about.
100%. And that's what you call culture.
Right.
That is culture that you want to build, where everybody is raising that tide. And the thing about leaders and processes is, you'll be working with other leaders, you'll be interacting with them, you share these things. This is what's working for me. Hey, you know what works for me is every day I have a focused block of time where I focus on this area that I need to grow. And I take, and I told, when I gave this book out, I told our leadership team, I said, hey, it's okay if you go back into your office and you open up this book and you read it during business hours. Right. I'm okay with you doing that and developing this skill set. So, that process, because it's what happens is these things, he says consistency compounds. There's a great book out there, a little short read, is called The Compound Effect. And its whole thing is about, if you doing daily, he calls it the process, but these daily things, these daily habits that you're putting in place every single day, if you do those consistently, day after day after day after day, these things compound. And then one day you're going to look up and you're a completely different person. You're a leader and an influencer that you never thought you would have the capacity to be. You're a salesperson like you never thought you'd have the capacity to be. And you look and you say, why? And it's because these daily disciplines that I've put in my life, this process that I'm following that happens every single day, that allows you to get to that point. One of the things that, and this could be seen as micromanaging, but it's completely opposite from it. Jed, what's one of the things that I have sent to me every single day from the leaders in our company?
Daily priorities list.
Yeah. Now listen to what he said there. What's the second word you said?
Priorities.
So we've got daily priorities list. And that daily priority, what I'm focusing on there is it that forces the leaders in the company to look and say, what are my priorities today? And then what comes out of that is it forces themselves. I really don't care what they're doing, to be honest with you. I'm not looking for a task list. I'm not looking to, hey, tell me what you're doing and I'll tell you what you need to do better.
Right.
That never happens. what I'm looking for is for the team, the leaders, to be looking out in whatever business unit that they're responsible for. What are the priorities that they need to do? Because if they set out their priorities, that forces them to have those processes and those habits in place that they are daily following, that are taking them to where they're going to be. And look, there's been people. Well, one of them is your wife who's not with us today. She runs one of our stores, and she told me one day. She said, this has changed my life.
Yeah, she loves it.
And that sounds like that's nothing that I did. Mm-hmm. It was completely her. All it was her. What she found about herself was, all this stuff is inside of me.
Right.
This is really who I am. I'm in control. I am daily taking charge of my day and the people that I lead. And now what's happening is she's growing to a point that where she is doing things now that 6 months ago, a year ago, she wasn't doing. And it's because she has grown and developed so much as a leader, and all that was all inside of her.
Her personality has always been, she's a list maker. She loves doing it. It relaxes her. When we're planning a vacation, she'll ask if we can go to the office store and get her a new notebook. And I know exactly what she's going to do. She plans out the day. Now we don't have to strictly adhere to the plan, but she's planning out everything that she's doing, and she wants something to change, so she'll have to rip out those pages and start over. And when she learned that she could apply that to her professional life, it did change the way she looked at everything.
Yeah, it does. And remember, this is not a daily task list. This is a daily priorities list where you look and say, I'm in charge of this. What are my priorities today? And then what are the processes I need to put in place? I just encourage you on this as we wrap this up, that this is not going to happen overnight for you. Figure out the things that you need to be doing daily. One of those needs to be personal development. You need to be spending time personally developing yourself every single day. That is a must. There are things inside of whatever you lead, wherever you are on this spectrum. There are going to be things that you need to be doing daily. What are the daily habits that are going to make you successful? And that's your process. And if you will stick to that process, it won't be an overnight success, but what will happen is you will look up a year from now, you'll be a completely different person. You will have developed yourself to a point that you may not even recognize the person that you are at this point. And that's a good thing. Every single one of us needs to get better every single day. And like Jed said, if you have that 300-yard rushing game and win the state championship, and you're a 16-year-old, you do need to celebrate your successes.
Right.
But you also look and say, man, okay, well, how could I get even better?
Right.
And if we're always trying to get just a little bit better every single day, and looking one day behind us and saying, I'm better than I was yesterday. And then you will ultimately end up being that best you that you can be. So no matter what day you're listening to this, we close the podcast the same way every time we come to you, and we close it that way for a very, very important reason, and it's because it is true. And so you need to put some processes in place. You need to develop that leadership. All you got to worry about is doing it today. Because if you'll do the hard things today, tomorrow will take care of itself.